What's going on, YouTube? Today we got the truth about Michael Jordan's time with the Wizards, man. Reacting to a lot of Michael Jordan highlight games of the Wizards. So I'm familiar. He definitely wasn't no slouch, man.
How's it
Definitely
going,
wasn't no
fellas?
slouch.
My name's Andy, and
Right.
now we
He
all
was
know
getting the
about
muck.
Michael
He was getting the
Jordan
muck.
and
He just reacted to
everything he's done for the
45.
Chicago Bulls.
I think of 50
But
2
in
days
this
ago.
video, we're gonna take a
He was-
detailed look at his time
man.
with the Washington Wizards. But before we start, I'd like to thank Hardwood Amino for sponsoring this video. It's a great app for basketball fans with polls, quizzes, and all kinds of fan-made NBA content. If you're new to the app, I'd recommend checking out the new live layer of everything that Jordan made players the Wizards hired to be the. So to start things off, on January 19, 2000, Jordan was hired to be the president of basketball operations for the Wizards. At the time, the Wizards were not doing so well. They recently traded some young, promising players in Chris Webber and Ben Wallace, and the last 2 seasons were rough. They couldn't win more than 30 games in either season. The major decision that Jordan made during his time as president was, of course, drafting Kwame Brown. In the 2001 NBA draft, he took Brown with the #1 overall pick, who would eventually become one of the biggest busts in recent history. But Jordan believed in him and really thought that he was the next generational player out of high school. Well, at least that's what he thought when he drafted him, but to be fair, most mock drafts had him going relatively high. Around the same time, Jordan also confessed that he really missed playing in the NBA. Even though he previously said that there was a 99.9% chance that he would not come back again, he still had some second thoughts. Later on, after seeing his friend, NHL player Mario Lemieux, make a comeback, Jordan was inspired by him and decided to return to play the sport he loved as well. On September 2001, Jordan announced that he was
Good background
coming back to
information. I
play,
did not know
a
that.
statement that everyone has heard before, but this time, the expectations were a bit different. I mean, Jordan was getting older. He was 38 years old, and the Wizards were awful. There were some people who still believed that he was still the same player as before and that he could lead the Wizards to the playoffs, but for the most part, his comeback this time was not as spectacular, which was expected, given his age and the team's situation. But according to Jordan himself, he stated that, "I am especially excited about the Washington Wizards, and I'm convinced that we have the foundation on which to build a playoff contention team. The opportunity to teach our young players and help them elevate their game to a higher level strongly influenced my decision." Anyway, because Jordan returned to the NBA as a player, that meant he had to give up his position as the president of the Wizards. But before he gave it up, he made sure to hire Doug Collins, his former coach that he really respected. So in the months leading up to his return, Jordan trained furiously and worked as hard as ever. Unfortunately, he was very out of shape, close to 240 pounds near the beginning of the year, which was about 20 pounds heavier than what he would like. Before the season even began, Jordan broke 2 of his ribs and developed back spasms during his workouts, so even though he had the motivation and the fire to get back to that level he was when he was in Chicago, his body was just not handling it well. Regardless, he was fine by the time the season started. Jordan signed a 2-year, $2 million contract with the Wizards, and he also stated that he would donate his entire salary to the 9/11 terrorist attacks, which happened a month before the 2001 to 2002 NBA season. Jordan started off his Wizards career playing pretty well. He was still averaging over 20 points a game, although his efficiency dropped significantly. In his 2 seasons there, he averaged 21 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.5 steals, 43% from the field, and an unspectacular 48% true shooting percentage, which was about 4% lower than the league's average. Jordan wasn't very efficient, mainly because he primarily turned into a jump shooter. Nearly half of his field goal attempts were between 16 and 22 feet from the basket, and they're basically the least efficient shots in the game. Even though he's been known as a deadly mid-range shooter, he shot about 42% from mid-range, which is actually not bad. It's just that he didn't drive to the rim as much, shoot threes, nor did he draw many fouls. Because of that, his overall efficiency was pretty low. On top of that, he was very, very critical of his teammates, especially the rookie he just drafted, Kwame Brown. After the Wizards scored just 75 points as a team in a loss against the Cavaliers, Jordan stated that, "Man, this team stinks." During the stretch of games, their defense was especially bad because the effort was never there. Jordan said, "The way we'll be able to turn this around is to go out every night and have the effort. Sometimes things may not go your way, but the effort should be there every single night. I don't see anyone covering my back as everyone probably expected me to cover theirs." In Jordan's first season there, his teammates and the second leading scorer on the team was Rip Hamilton. Hamilton said that MJ was always talking trash, even to his teammates. But there was this time when Hamilton walked up to Jordan and asked him if the Wizards players can have their own Jordan brand shoes. Jordan responded by saying, "Hey Rip, my sneakers are for all-stars." And
he's bugging though. What you mean? Just because you on my team, I'm supposed to give all y'all some Jordan bread? Nah, what? You better earn them.
then he
What you mean?
said to another player, "Your game
they'd
is
be like,
not
what?
to the liking of my
What?
sneaker."
What are you talking
And
about?
then in the 2002 offseason,
What are you talking about?
right
I
after
don't owe
Jordan's
you. I don't
first season
owe you
playing
as
on
a
the team,
brand deal,
Hamilton
boy.
got
What?
traded
Get out my
for
face,
Jerry
homie.
Stackhouse, who played
Or
basketball at
better
North Carolina.
get your game up.
So even though Jordan was not in the
Well,
front
they got me
office
tight,
anymore,
Mike.
you gotta assume that he
Better
had
than me.
something to do with his trade.
Better than
he
me,
really
man.
liked Stackhouse as a player.
For real.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, Jordan's relationship with Kwame Brown was kinda harsh. He was very critical of Kwame and apparently said some things that would definitely not fly if he said them today. After dominating his high school competition, he found himself struggling a lot in the NBA. There were a lot of things going wrong. He had trouble catching passes because of his small hands, he couldn't really do the same post moves like in high school, defensively his IQ was kinda low, and he couldn't just jump over everyone like he did in high school. Everyone was bigger, stronger, faster, not like those scrawny high school players. Basically, he was having a hard time, and then you add on the fact that Jordan was pushing him really hard to get better. And with Jordan's expectations, you know you gotta have some thick skin, because that's how he was. It got so bad one time, he even called Kwame yeah. Apparently, this was during the middle of a game, and Jordan continued to scream at him. According to the source, Kwame was in tears after hearing what Jordan said to him, but apparently this was false. Years later, in an interview, Kwame denied that any of this was true. He did not cry because of Jordan's comments, and he also denied that Jordan ever called him any homophobic slurs. But what he did not deny is how hard he was on him.
Control.
Jordan would push him to the limits at practice, but at the same time, Kwame always kept his cool, and he knew why Jordan was like that. He mentioned, "The guy probably took the biggest risk of his life, picking a high school player number 1. I'm conscious that if I screw up, I'm messing with Michael's reputation. I know he's going to work me to death." It still must have had a huge mental effect on him though. I mean, he was 19 years old, just got out of high school, and now he has to listen to the greatest player in the world tell him how much he sucks. Recalling this situation, Kwame actually didn't mind all the stuff that people were saying about him because he knew that's what came with being the number 1 pick. However, he said, "The biggest problem for me was the isolation. You're a teenager on a team full of grown men. You really can't go out. Nobody really wants to hang with you because you're so young. I went to one of the oldest teams in the league. I was by far the youngest guy on the team. I think it's better when you can go to a team with other young players, with your peers." Anyway, going back to Jordan, near the end of his first season there, he tore some cartilage in his right knee, so he only managed to play 60 games. In the 2002 to 2003 season, Jordan played all 82 games and averaged 20 points. But his most memorable moments came during the All-Star game. Originally, he was not voted in as a starter, but Vince Carter gave him the starting spot because it was going to be his last All-Star game of Jordan's career. At the end of the game, with the score tied, Jordan hit what looked like to be the game-winning shot. But then, Jermaine O'Neal's dumbass...
Why he look like Zay like that? Why you look at Zay like that?
But then, Jermaine
Zay probably
O'Neal's
said some
dumbass
funny
fell
shit. He
Kobe
probably
on
like, nigga,
three-point
what?
shots, and yeah, the West ended up winning the game. Anyway, to sum things up, in Jordan's 2 seasons with the Wizards, they finished with identical 37...
Yo, this guy.
In Jordan's 2 seasons, yeah, the West ended up winning. O'Neal's dumbass fouled Kobe on a 3-point shot, and yeah, the West ended up winning the
That
game.
was Jermaine O'Neal. I thought that was
Anyway, to sum
why he
things
look
up,
like
in
Kwame
Jordan's 2 seasons
Brown
with
right
the
here.
Wizards, they finished with
I don't know how
identical
Kwame Brown
37
look,
and
but
45 records,
the
and
glimpses we just
unfortunately
seen.
missed the playoffs in both seasons. Jordan retired for the final time. Afterwards, he expected that the Wizards would reinstate him as the president of basketball operations, but that did not happen. The Wizards owner, Abe Pollan, was not happy with the trades and signings that Jordan made while he was still in the front office, and decided to not give him his job back. Jordan obviously felt like he was betrayed by the organization, and even said that he would have never even played for the Wizards if he knew that he was not going to get his job back in the front office. And that's
Hate how you ended the video though, brother. But it's all cool, I guess.
So, have you been watching the
If you guys enjoyed this reaction, man, y'all know what to do. Make sure you like the video,
How's it
comment,
going,
subscribe.
fellas?
Click on the last one. Shh. Andy, you messed up the video. You ended it too abruptly, man. It's on your screen. I'm out of here.